All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. I'll begin. Let me say I'm appreciative that you allow me to make this presentation tonight. I work with district staff to bring about the results of this study. And tonight we're presenting the culmination of those efforts. Next slide, please, Michelle. Page down.
Give me 1 second, Clayton.
Okay. All right, so why are rates changing? Probably the primary reason is that there's ongoing needs for expenses of the wastewater system. So we have our O&M expenses, our operation and maintenance expenses keep increasing year after year for salaries, benefits, power and chemicals. We've also identified some capital spending needs. These are for replacement and improvements of the wastewater system. And we also need to maintain some working capital in our wastewater fund to meet unforeseen contingencies. During the study, we also found that in fiscal year 24-25, there was a drawdown of reserves for some certain expenses. Those were one-time expenses, but they were substantial, so they drew down your reserves. Also during the year, the wastewater treatment costs for treatment from the city of Turlock, they raised their rates significantly, and that's causing your expenses to increase significantly also. So these items are what's causing your rates to change from what they were. Page down, please, Michelle. So the assumptions we used in the study, discussing with staff, there would be about 40 new units connecting for 2 more years for the wastewater system. There also are earnings on your cash reserves, about 3% annually, and that we would have inflation in your expenses for different categories I listed here: salaries, benefits, power, chemicals, and all other, at the rates that I've shown. Next slide, please. As I mentioned about the wastewater reserves, the district implemented I should say adopted a reserve policy. And that reserve policy included $3 million for a capital replacement reserve, as well as we need to keep some operating money on hand as well. So as of July 1st of 2024, about a year ago, the district had almost $1 million added working capital. That's shown in the red column. And the reserve target, based on your policy, is about $3.5 million. So you're deficient where you want to have, but $1 million wasn't bad, except that you had those problems that I showed in the first slide. So essentially that reserve now is gone. I think you have little or no money essentially left at this point. So we need to build that back up. Next slide, please. The capital program, we identified 2 projects. Well site number 6 building to be constructed 26-27, about $100,000, and then new administration building in 29-30, about $371,000. So not substantial on our capital, but we need to raise our rates to be able to pay for these projects. Next slide, please. So this essentially is the result of bringing that all together. On the left-hand side, you'll see our wastewater financial plan. On the right-hand side, you'll see our working capital reserves and compared to the target. Now, on the left-hand side, those columns represent your expenses. So, for example, the blue column is your operation and maintenance expense. The orange column is your Turlock treatment expense. And your yellow is net capital spending. And purple is when we start putting money back into your reserves. Now what this shows is that first year, the columns are higher than the lines. The lines represent your revenue coming in. And that means you're drawing down on your reserves because you didn't have any money coming in to pay for those expenses. So that's what essentially took away all your cash reserves. So we're proposing to increase revenue by 74.2% in 1 year's time, because we have to start putting money back into the fund. So on the right-hand side, that's your end-of-year cash. So at the end of this fiscal year, you have no money. Even with the 74% increase this October is what we're proposing, you would end up the year with just under $500,000. And then the year after, $1 million. And you start to build it back up over a 10-year period until you get to your reserve target. So can we spread this out? The answer is no, because you're already in a deficit, almost a deficit position, and we need to start putting reserves back in the fund to be able to make any unforeseen contingencies, as well as pay for your capital and essentially get money back into the fund. Next slide, please. Once we identify how much revenue we need to have, we need to identify how we're going to get that revenue from our customers. And we do that based on what's called cost of service. So our cost of service then is based on the flow and strength of each one of our customer groups. And just as Turlock charges you based on flow and strength, we're proposing to start charging commercial customers based on their flow and strength. The residential bill, we're proposing that to remain as a fixed charge per month, just like it is now, but it will include all their costs, the wastewater flow and strength capacity costs. Whereas for commercial, we're going to start charging them based on the size of the meter that's at the location, which represents capacity, and then the flow and the strength that they contribute into the sewer system based on the water meter read. So essentially, we're trying to capture the flow and strength that each commercial customer puts into the system. Next slide, please. The district gave me some history on the Turlock invoices, and I summarized those and presented them here. So the last 3 years, the top line, you'll see the flow, gallons per day. It's slowly increasing, which represents the growth that's occurred in the last few years. And the next two lines, the average BOD and the average SS, and that's what we call strength. And it's measured in milligrams per liter. So in the first year, 21-22, it's right around 300 milligrams a liter, which is what we expect as kind of normal strength. Then as we progress to the next 2 years, you can see the strength has increased significantly. And then so what I also did is thought, well, what's the maximum strength that occurred in any month? And that's what the max BOD and the max SS is there in the last two lines. And you can see that by the time we get to 23-24, there was some substantial months where strength was significant, and that's where you were experiencing some high Turlock invoices, I guess, the best way to say it. Now, working with Ernie, we did look at the last 9 months, and it did show that you have returned to a normal strength, just under 325 for BOD and 300 for SS. So I believe the district has taken care of those high strength, or at least notified them that they're contributing that strength. So we're projecting that they go back to a normal type pattern. However, because of a new rates we're proposing, if they do have high strength or do have high flow, they will be captured with the new rates we're going to be charging. Next slide, please. So this is the result with the rate structure when rates we're proposing for this October 1, 2025. Probably most of note is the first line for single family. The current rate is $64.23. That will increase to $101.23. That's a $37 per month increase, or a 57.6% increase. And similarly, for multifamily mobile home, a 57.6%. And then you'll see schools at the bottom there, those will also be fixed charges. And that's per average daily attendance. So they would provide that average daily attendance in the district and charge it per ADA. And that also increased a little bit more, about almost 70%, reflecting the 74.2 overall that we were discussing in the financial time. Now, what I did was compare that new bill, essentially both your current bill and your new bill, to some other jurisdictions or some other agencies in the area. On the next slide, please. I'll show you how you did. So the red line is what you were at $64.23. You now exceed Houston, which had their own issues several years ago. But now you would be the highest of these that I've surveyed here. Now, also note, this will be your bill for the next 5 years, $101.23. It's not, we're not proposing that it'll change. Whereas these other ones, they'll continue to have rate studies, they'll continue to have their bills increase, and probably be catching up to you at some point. But for the next October bill, you'll be the highest. Next slide, please. I also thought I would take a look at commercial. Well, essentially, this is the rate structure we're proposing for commercial. So the second column shown as current rate, those are the current charges as of now that you're charging commercial low, commercial medium, commercial high. We're proposing in the third column that you now charge them by the meter size, a fixed charge per month. And then the last 3 columns, you'll be charging also, in addition to that fixed charge, a charge of $100 per 100 cubic feet read through the meter, the water meter, and be charged then for the pound and strength, pounds of BOD and pound of SS, in the same manner that the city of Turlock is charging. So essentially this represents a pass-through, meaning that if Turlock raises their rates, so will you to those commercial customers. Next slide, please. So I thought I'd calculate a few commercial bills here. This is for commercial low, medium, and high, and these represent the largest users in each group. So for commercial low, their bill will go from $64.23 to $309.90 per month. For commercial medium, there's only one customer, and so last year he didn't have very much volume. But his bill will be going from $111.20 to $82.88. And probably most notable then is commercial high, and there's only 2 customers in there, 2 meters in there. So the largest one, 2-inch, using a substantial amount of water, 1,425 cubic feet. His bill will increase from $160.67 up to $9,861 per month. That's a substantial increase. So you do have a very large commercial customer out there that is contributing high volume and high strength to the system. Next slide, please. Now, Ernie also asked me to look at the same study if we were to reduce that adopted reserve policy from $3.5 million down to $1 million. And if we did that, we would only need to have rate increase by 51.6%. And you can see the financial plan on the left and the reserves on the right. So we don't have to build our reserves up as high, so we don't have to have as large a rate increase. Now, what the bills would look like, if you go to the next slide, please. For single family, the bill would increase from $64.23 to $87.07. That's a lot lower than the $101 we had on the other slide. So that's a 35.6% increase rather than a 58% increase. And I think I also have commercial shown too. Michelle, go to the next slide, please. So here, while they did reduce somewhat, not so much of a drop for the commercial low or the commercial high, they still pay quite a bit per month, reflecting that the rate structure has changed to a volume and strength type structure. Next slide, please. So this is what I would propose for the next steps. Tonight, I'm presenting you the results of our study. If there is a desire to move forward, the last day to mail out what's called the Proposition 218 notices would be July 10th. And those are notices that need to go to each property owner and each person of record on the meter who might be paying the bill. Then we would come back on August 26th for a public hearing to comply with Proposition 218 notice. And if the rates pass, then you would adopt the resolution to increase the rates. And 30 days later, you can implement those on October 1st. So this completes the presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if I can.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions?
No, not at this time for me.
No questions for you? No questions? Okay. With having no questions, I would move that we approve.
Hold it, Mr. President. What about public comment?
I apologize. Is there any public comment at this time?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. For the record, my name is Stephen Morrow, and I served on the ad hoc committee that was involved with studying this problem and taking care of the rate study. There is no easy way to sugarcoat this. The district is in trouble, and I know that the increases proposed are going to hurt, and for some families, they're going to hurt pretty badly. But costs for everybody are going up. But the district is really in a tough position, so we're just going to have to deal with, paying for the increased services. I know Mr. Garza had the study prepared with a lower figure as well as an upper figure. Costs are going to continue to increase, so I would more or less recommend, let's just go ahead and take the upper figure now. I know it's going to be tough, but we have to do what we have to do. Thank you.
Any other public comments at this time? No. Board discussion and deliberations?
Hey, what do you guys think? I think it might be a good idea to maybe call a special meeting or a workshop before before we make any decision, and also maybe possibly, definitely before the public hearing.
We can do that, but we're gonna have to move forward with approving the rate study. So regardless of we can educate the community, right? Which is 100% what we're gonna do with some door to door. But right now we need to move forward either with approving or not approving the rate study as it is, with either the building the 1 million reserve or the 3 million reserve. So yes, we can have a workshop. Yes, we can discuss this further. Yes, we can educate the community. But yes, 100%, a motion needs to be made tonight in regards to the rate study. So that, you're right, Cody. We will have a couple more meetings after this. We'll have, like you said, a workshop. But we'll be doing something, either approving or not approving, but something will happen regardless. Does that make sense?
Yep, now I hear it.
Okay, is there any other, you got more, Cody? If I cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yep.
Christina, you good? Okay. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the wastewater rate study prepared by Clayton Tuckfield and Associates. Implementing the rate increase to build the 3 million reserve. Does that make sense? Alright. I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We need one more aye or nay, Cody.
That's an aye for me.
Alright, thank you. Thank you very much,